Well, what I could gather. Oh, I think the stream died.
Oh
Is it
shit.
good?
Uh Hold on. I don't know what happened. Looks like we're back. I just refreshed. We good? Okay. Sorry
We good,
sorry about.
chat?
Yeah. Sorry. I love the armor, dude. The armor is so freaking cool. um yeah, I mean, it's wild. I mean, I again, like I've never had any of my friends like become like a thing or whatever. But to be honest with you, like I think Narc still has so much more room to grow. Like I feel like if I was in his position, I wouldn't just rest on my laurels in that sense. But I feel like after yesterday we were watching that interview that he was doing with the Star Citizen guy, and right now it just seems like, because I mean you said you hadn't been in the Ashes space for a bit, right? We're in some
I've like mingled, but not really.
right. We're in some prime time content right now. Like there's been banger stream after banger stream after banger stream this year. And we're so freaking close to the Alpha 2. And it really astounds me just how doom and gloom Narc is. And I'm just curious, like, has he always been like a doomer in that sense? Like is he just not an optimistic person, or is he like, because he says he's jaded towards MMOs, and believe me, I understand that sentiment. I feel like a lot of us in chat are jaded towards the MMO genre. But I mean, why do you think
For
he's
sure.
being so negative, especially towards his community? Like he was talking about like, oh, how he hates his chat. I'm like, dude, your chat is what makes you you. Like how can you hate the very people that got you to where you are? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's weird.
I mean, this is the same guy that would ban pretty much anybody from our Discord for no real
Right.
reason.
Right. It's like in some ways, like I feel like, and this is what I said yesterday, like it's almost like he cultivated a persona of being this kind of like Asmongold like figure, but like super trolly, super sarcastic, always trying to hide with like these names in Discord. But then as soon as his chat starts being like a mirror reflection of his own personality, it's like that's it.
I mean, you reap what you sow, right?
I mean, that's a pretty good way to put it, right? I mean, it's like, and again, I don't look. I think any of the AOC content creators, including myself, would kill to be in the position Narc is in. Like to be able to just like have any video that he uploads to his YouTube content and have Asmongold have it straight on his For You page, will react to it, be able to garner that kind of thing. It's like, I mean, again, like I feel like if he were to become truly successful, right, he goes to being like 100,000 subscribers, or just like a bigger household name in the Ashes space, which I feel like inevitably is probably going to happen, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
it's going to happen. But I do feel like there's some other content creators that could also just pop out of nowhere and overtake him. And I feel like, again, there's Burns is definitely one of those people that I feel like that could happen to. Of course, I wish my own success, right? I hope I could pop off doing what I'm doing, right? But I mean, either way, like I'm just glad to just be doing what I'm doing. I'm glad to just be able to come onto the space and just like I said, chat with you and be like, hey, do you have time right now? And you're like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it, dude. Like, and I'm like, that's freaking awesome. You know what I mean? And just be able to talk to someone who's literally like almost 7 hours away across the world, and here we are having a discussion about Ashes of Creation. Well, of course, we're having more of a discussion about about Narc,
Yeah.
but I guess it is what it is at the end of the day. So, is there anything that you like regret about like doing what you did, or do you feel like you don't regret anything? Like even though it was a shitty situation, like you probably would have done it again the same way.
I regret giving him Discord ownership.
Oh
He,
my
he
god.
said I was blackmailing him with it.
Really?
Yeah, so I just gave it to him because it's bullshit.
Oh my God. So originally you were the Discord owner.
Yeah.
Wow. And believe me, like, again, there's a lot of people that have been doing Discords in the space, I think, very well. Like, because it takes so much time to cultivate a Discord channel and to have people constantly like in there communicating, chatting, creating that community. And so I'm pretty sure you had a pretty heavy hand in cultivating that, right?
But yeah, it was like 2 years of just doing the
Nonstop.
YouTube, building the community, all that stuff. And then imagine like 2 years of work just pulled under from you in one day.
Wow. And so, like, ever since then, like, Narc hasn't acknowledged you, Narc hasn't paid you back, or
No,
like
not at all.
for any of the work you've done.
No. Like all the footage I provide, I deliberately removed any of my like name on them or anything. If you look at New World or Arcade, I think there's some on there that has my name, which he got really pissed about at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for the most part, I deliberately removed myself from the footage because none of that shit matters.
So, like, are you going to be like playing Ashes in the future? Like, are you?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, because dude, like, I wouldn't let the whole thing with Narc ruin the potential for you to play this freaking game, dude. It's getting so good. The live streams have been bangers. Everything's just been like really, really good. But you said it took you some time to get over it. Do you feel like you're over it now? Like, do you feel like it's beyond you at this point, or does some stuff still hurt?
It still hurts
I can see that.
because I don't have the answers.
Damn. And it sucks, dude. Like, I've actually had a lot of people like come into my chat. Excuse me, dude. I need to hydrate. I need to hydrate. Coming from his chat to like, you know, come into mine or whatever, and they're like, dude, I just can't be in his chat anymore. And it's just like, again, I don't know what he's trying to do, because it seems to me from an outside perspective that he's not saying in a way self-imploding, but it's like in a way he seems like he's upset. And I don't know what he could be upset about, because again, to a lot of outsiders' perspectives, many people would kill to be in his position. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So
that's related to IRL, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well, and again, you know what I mean? I have stuff I'm currently dealing with. I feel like, honestly, though, like being here and chatting with you makes what I'm going through in real life easier. Like, it feels like being here is almost like a therapy for me. It's not hurting me. It's not making me more bitter. Like, being here doing what I'm currently doing right this second feels therapeutic. Like, I'm very curious as to why he doesn't feel like, at least for 2 seconds, think to himself like, wow, like I have like 200 people that watch me anytime I go live. I'm one of the biggest creators in this space. Like, and just reflect on like being appreciative of like where he is. Like, even though he didn't get there by himself, like why can't you just do that for like 2 seconds? Just better your own self in that way, right? Like,
well, there's 4 characteristics. There's narcissism. There's being a main character. There's being a misogynist. And what's the other one? I honestly think he's like schizo or something at this point, dude. I don't know what else to say.
Okay. Well, again, you know, I feel like we can just kind of go beyond it. Like I said, I don't have any bad thing about Narc or whatever. I mean, honestly, like I would still love to have him on the show. I would love to talk to him and stuff like that. But it just seems to me that he just is a loner. He will continue to be a loner and just do what he wants, and that's fine. You know what I mean? But I feel like I kind of just wish him the best, because again, I don't know what he's going through in real life, but if he could listen to anything I said, I'm like, dude, people would just love to be in your position, man. Like, I understand you have stuff going on in real life, but like, just try to be appreciative of like what you have, because people that don't, sometimes people envy, what they don't have, right? But I feel like there's a lot of content creators, especially in this space, they work hard to do what we do, right? To put on these shows, to, give things to, entertainment, to chat, make stuff entertaining, especially when we don't even have a product to play, right? I think it's one of those things that it's hard to do, you know what I mean? It's hard to say it all, so, but either way, let's, you ready to get started on the actual 1v1 episode? We'll talk about some ashes of creation, talk about like all that stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Recording in 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, welcome back to the 1v1 podcast. I am your host, Vlhadus, and today with another bonus episode. Who could have guessed, right? I have our boy Grimmkill. What is going on, my dude?
What up?
And if you know who my boy Grimmkill is, then you know. If you don't, well, hopefully you'll get to know in this episode. But Grim, like, so first question I got to ask you is, like, what, like, when you watched that Lazy Peon video, because we talked about it earlier in the pre-show, you said you watched that Lazy Peon video. Like, how long have you been in the MMO space? Like, how many MMOs have you played? I'm just curious to know like that, and we can kind of springboard from there.
I've played for about 30 years. I started with Ragnarok Online.
Damn. So you have experience. Like, your resume is damn near impressive at this point then. Okay. So you've played I'm pretty sure like all the big MMOs, like, World of Warcraft, like Ultima.
Guild Wars 1, was God Walking, Legendary Defender of Ascalon, pre-nerf. WoW was many realm first, so I think I had like 200 feats of strength and 300 legacy.
Holy crap. Dang, dude. On what class? I'm just curious, like, what did you mean?
Shaman.
Resto enhancement? Elemental? Ah, yeah, some chain lightning. I like it. Some lava burst. Got it. Okay. So, like, what in your opinion, because you have this kind of like plethora of experience, like, what did you feel like as we started to approach into like the 2010s going forward, right? Because I feel like the 2010s was such a weird period for MMOs, because I think, pay to convenience and just the convenience overall in MMO design just got so rampantly disgusting.
It went from, is an MMO pay to win, to how severe is the pay to win?
Very good point. Yeah, I think a lot of the times when it comes to the pay to win, people literally are like, was it pay to win? Oh, okay. And then people now are so used to MMOs coming out that are pay to win. Like, I remember people right now, like Throne of Liberty, you were actually talking about it earlier. I am not even halfway interested in that game because it's pay to win. And so for me, like, if I know I want to put in like time into an MMO. And it's like with Lost Ark. I did like Lost Ark. I liked the gameplay that Lost Ark provided, but it's pay to win. Like, if I am not swiping my card, I will forever be behind the people that are. And I think that is a very gross experience for me and my gameplay.
I would have loved to just play my main in Lost Ark.
Oh, yeah.
That was my biggest gripe. I hated playing 50 ults. That was stupid.
Yeah, I think the all gameplay. And again, it's like, because if you're trying to be competitive, like, it was one of those things you needed to do. And
yeah,
so
you had 6 berserkers or 6 paladins. Whatever you mained, it was stupid.
Yeah. And so now, like, going into, like, did you end up playing New World? I'm just curious. Did you try New World?
Yeah.
What did you think of New World?
Oh, the skeleton was really good. It had a lot of potential, but then it just fell on its face all the time.
Right. I think it was mostly because it was, it had no vision. That's what I keep saying. It just, I think the people at Amazon Game Studios just didn't know what the hell to do with their own MMO. I feel like they were trying to copy, like, what the kind of similarities that Ashes was trying to do in their game, and then also just throwing at the wall, seeing what sticks, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, New World could have been great. All they had to do was add, like, open world objectives, make things meaningful. Like, it was just so shallow.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I feel with a lot of MMOs nowadays. The MMOs feel like they're just skin deep. Like there's nothing truly like you can literally a brand new MMO like Tarisland or probably like Throne of Liberty 2, like you go into it and it's like you can beat the game or like feel like you're done in like a week. Like you're max level, you have all the best gear. And if it's not usually a week for most hardcore players, then by the end of 1 month, you're basically done. And I feel like
there's no real end game loop. Yeah.
Well, it's not even just an end game loop. There's nothing to do that feels meaningful. Like not even in an end game perspective, but just in a gameplay perspective. And then here you have Ashes of Creation creating this kind of sandbox and theme park kind of blend approach where they're going to have many player curated systems, but also like actual like developer curated content. And there hasn't really been a game that's blended in that approach to where even if you've completed all of our curated content, we still have systems in place for you to make your own content. And I think that is probably the most powerful thing that you can do for gamers is empower them to be able to create content, like with their friends, with their guild, with enemies, with, contests, with streaming, whatever. And I feel like Ashes has like really good systems in place for that. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Just give us the tools and we'll make the content. That's what it comes down to.
So like with you being in Ethereum, like because I'm pretty sure, because Alec, he's pretty gung-ho about Ashes. Especially when it comes to any MMOs, they're usually very committed to making sure that they try to own servers or try to own their content and stuff like that. So I guess, how deep are y'all going to go into Throne of Liberty? Are y'all going to go pretty far, or are y'all just doing the testing stuff, or like what's going on there?
We'll probably do the same we did with BDO. Which will show up, make everyone look stupid by being top 3 in 8 months.
Dude, y'all were playing BDO pretty heavily. Like, because I remember people seeing in the Discord and just seeing BDO, and there was like 18, 20 something people like all in the chat, just like playing constantly.
That's so clear. A normal day in the Discord, dude. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, because I know every time I see it, I'm like, holy shit, man, they're still freaking playing. So, what's the thing that when you watched the Lazy Peon video in 2020, what was the thing that actually got you like interested in Ashes? Like, was it Steven? Was it the philosophy? Was it like the systems? Like, what spoke to you about the game?
They were talking, especially Steven, were talking in a way that they actually give a shit. And they were saying things that we were thinking at the time when these subjects came up.
Okay.
So if they ask Steven, what would you do about this or that, it'd bring up the exact kind of answer we would actually have as well. Like, true, dude,
Oh, shit. Hold on 1 second. There it goes. Sorry, I messed up because I had Discord and I someone sent me a message and I just wanted to see like what it was. Anyway, no, yeah, I feel like with Ashes in 2020, there was like a huge thing in World of Warcraft at that time where people were not in a good place mentally, like ever. And so, especially with Shadowlands, again, I don't know if you played any retail WoW, but it was a very dark time in 2019 and 2020, at least in the WoW community. And so when Lazy Peon came out, it felt like this beacon of light that just came out of nowhere and just outshined like anything that was going on at the time. Like, I'm actually currently making a video about it because I think it was such a, especially from a WoW community person's perspective, it was like this thing that just came out like as this savior. And because again, like everything just felt like, again, a lot of the WoW people, they played WoW because nothing else felt good to them. Like, they didn't want to play Final Fantasy. They didn't want to play Guild Wars 2. They didn't want to play ESO. They didn't want to play BDO. And so you just feel like you have nothing but this really shitty game to play. And then the Lazy Peon video comes out. And then you have Asmongold reacting to the Lazy Peon video. And then Steven gets on a Discord call with Asmongold to talk about the game.
When he was going to Las Vegas.
Yes, dude. And so it was like, what the hell? And I remember I was on Asmon's stream at that time. And it was one of the coolest things to witness. Like, I was just like, holy shit, dude. Like, this is a man who made a company from scratch to make his fantasy MMORPG, and he's just unabashedly just passionate about it and upfront about its design and what he wants to do, what he doesn't want to do. And I'm like, holy shit, like, we actually have a guy that just knows what they want. Because I feel like every major company is just trying to placate to everybody, like anybody and everybody. And it's like, when you placate to everybody, you don't appease anyone. Right.
You could tell it was coming from a gamer who played games, and it wasn't corporate bullshit or anything like that.
Yeah. And I think that was
pure passion.
Yeah, and I think that was honestly the thing for me, was the fact that we literally got this amount of passion in a very passionless industry at that point. Because again, there wasn't many things happening that filled people with hope. And again, this was also like, we're getting the betas of New World, and the New World betas was not going good around 2020. Then it got delayed a year. And so Lost Ark, I think, was still going pretty strong. Or no, Lost Ark was coming out in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't like in January of 2021 that when Lost Ark came out.
It was something like that.
Something like that. I can't remember. Did you end up playing Lost Ark pretty well too, right? You did, right?
Yeah, I played with Marlon and his group.
Right. Okay. So yeah, New World was a bust. Lost Ark, I think, was pretty good for a few months, but then of course, inevitably, like even the 3 years or 4 years worth of content that it had, they still like gate kept of it, right? So they had to like release it in patches and everything like that. So I guess it wasn't what players were hoping. And of course, I remember again in 2020, people were still debating if Lost Ark was going to be pay to win or not. And I remember like, dude, it's pay to win. Like it's legit. Like you pay to advance your character faster. Like that's pay to win. And of course we got into the game, people realized that. And that's when all the videos you had like Stoops and who was it? Canon all making videos about it. And yeah, and even the wizard, the wizard from Russia made videos about it too.
I remember that shit, dude.
Dude, those videos are so freaking funny, man. Oh my god, I miss this Lost Ark content.
I'm done with dog shit game.
Yeah, basically. Because he calculated if you were going to be a free-to-play player, how long it would take you. It was like 13 years. If you grind, it was like some ridiculous number. Like, oh my god, it was just like, why? Like, and again, it's like we're in this space where people like you, right? I feel like I've talked to so many people that are like old school MMO players, like from the like 1996 to 2004 era, like maybe 2008 era was probably the edge. And a lot of those people still consider themselves MMO players, but yet haven't played any MMOs at all. Like,
I couldn't do that. I love the genre too much.
Well, and that's what I mean, right? There's people like that. It's like, I don't know how they can do that, but then there's people still like holding out hope to like have this MMO. And again, I've seen there's like an older demographic here in the Ashes space. I don't know if you knew that, Grim, but there's a lot of older people that are in this space. And a lot of them are like saying like, this is my last hope for an MMORPG. So like, how do you feel about that when it comes to Ashes of Creation? Do you think Ashes of Creation is like a last hope for the genre to actually have it be saved in a certain sense?
What else is there?
Well,
Ashes is just like taking a game like Arcade, which people loved, and making it not shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good point. I mean, I think the reason why I feel like Arcade failed, and believe me, like Arcade worldwide had millions of people playing. Same thing with Lineage 2, by the way. Lineage 2 was huge in South Korea. It was a huge MMORPG there. And so I can't imagine if they had a contender that was very similar to those games, but absolutely no pay to win. Like, and there's certain segment of people feel like in other countries they're not going to like that because they're so used to it. But talking to other people, they said no. I think they will actually really enjoy the fact that anything you do in the game has to be earned. There's no swiping of the credit card to earn currency, to earn weapons, to earn power, to earn secondary currency that earns you more power, like any of that bullshit. Like it's just you play the game. If you're good at the game and you can complete the content, you get the gear. And I feel like there just hasn't really been an MMO that's felt earned. Every MMO, you always kind of question, oh, what did you just buy WoW tokens? Did you just buy, this diamond currency? Did you just buy this gear? There's a website that you can just, oh, you want a piece of epic gear? Just go and buy it. And then you get traded to you.
Yeah, I mean, we used an old example back on the YouTube, which was like Chad and Billy. And Chad would have this sick armor on. And Billy would be like, "You look sick, Chad. How did you get that?" And he goes, "Well, I had to slay the legendary dragon Parthenax with my guild and get his scales to do this quest chain to get this thing. I need my artisan worker, my artisan guildie who could make it into the actual piece of armor. And that's what I'm wearing, Billy." And the second story is Chad's wearing some sick shit. And Billy goes, "Chad, you look sick. How'd you get that?" "Oh, I spent $20.
Yep.
Which one's more epic?
I guess to Chad, the $20 one, right? But I mean, I guess like that's the thing though. That's what always feels so sad, is the fact that the reasoning why they do it is because when I saw that short that Pirate Software did, and of course Asmongold's talk about this too, but the entirety of what StarCraft 2 made in sales didn't even pale to comparison the $20 mount skin or the mount that you bought in World of Warcraft. That mount outsold StarCraft 2. And I think that that alone just set the precedent for microtransactions. Again,
Celestial Steed was the beginning of the end.
Yeah. 100%.
As soon as they put that thing in, it was just downhill from there.
Because now you're telling shareholders that, oh, if we don't put microtransactions of mounts or costumes, you're not making us more money. How dare you? Go do that.
Yep.
Because again, they make games for shareholders. They don't make games for gamers.
It's the same reason dailies exist.
Oh, how do you feel about dailies? Like, I'm curious because the commission board in Ashes it looks very similar to the board in New World. So like, how do you feel about that kind of gameplay loop?
I think if you're making a sandbox, if you want to get something, just go get it. No time gate, no bullshit. A daily purely exists to inflate player numbers. Just for shareholders. Like how many people we had log in every day.
Wow. And so do you think the reason why they made it into like a daily or something you can do a little bit more often was because of node XP, like having to do like objectives for the nodes, so that way that node specifically levels a certain way? Or do you feel like they could have given that kind of content differently?
I just think it's a sandbox, dude. Like sandboxes are literally, you want something, go get it. Like, but dailies and weeklies are a theme park thing.
But I mean, that's where the mixed approach is happening. Do you think Ashes of Creation should actually be more sandbox in nature? Because I feel
Absolutely.
like they're trying to do a blend of the theme park and sandbox, which they dubbed it like Sand Park or whatever. So, I mean, do you think that's a potential issue that Ashes could face in the future by trying to keep to that vision?
The general rule of thumb when it comes to the sandbox is if you put in more effort, you have more things. I understand dailies exist to give like people like a boost because they've only got like an hour or two a day, but they shouldn't have the same things as the guy put more hours in. It's that simple.
Okay. I can see that. So I guess like when it comes to like the overall design of an MMORPG, like when you're specifically looking for an MMO, what has to be checked in order for you to play it?
The combat has to feel good. The PvP needs to be thriving and rewarding. Earning shit means you have to invest time and not your credit card.
Okay. And do you feel like that's a pretty tall order in this in this day and climate when it comes to trying to find an MMO that can check those
Yeah,
boxes?
it is. And I don't mind Ashes having cosmetics, so long as they're not like power tied.
No, they're
So long
just
as the,
cosmetics.
so long as the cosmetics you earn in game look way fucking better, it's fine.
Yeah. I'm of the same opinion too. And the other thing too is that those cosmetics that you can buy, I believe from what Steven says is that you'll be able to get them in game too, but they're just going to be a different color.
Yeah, and
So
you'll get like mix match parts, like a glove of this cosmetic.
right, but if you buy it on the store, it's a one piece. Like you can't break it apart,
Yeah.
you can't do anything. And I think that's a pretty fair trade-off. And especially if it's just a costume with no power stats associated with it, I'm totally fine with that. I think it's a, again, I understand that there's people that aren't going to have like, because you always see these videos or these comparisons of like, oh, well, I'm a father and I have 3 wives and 16 kids and 4 dogs. And, I don't have all this time in the world to play. And so do you think the cash shop or like cosmetics shops are for those individuals to still feel like they can look cool, even though they don't play like, like let's say like 4 to 6 hours a week?
So long as the gap between the cosmetic and the earnable is like vast and how cool they look, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Let me see. There was someone in chat says, what about the apply skin to armor piece like in Guild Wars 2? Do you think that will be implemented? Well, it basically will be. So whenever you purchase a cosmetic from the store, from what Steven said, there's going to be a little spot on your character paper doll that you're going to be able to put that costume on. And then it's just going to be the whole piece of armor. So you can't have like, you can't just take the helm or take like the chest or take the legs or the boots. Like it's all one piece. You can't break it apart. However, that same cosmetic look you can still earn in game, and you can then earn just the helm or the legs or the like basically bring it all together to make the complete set, and that you can transmog however way you want. So I think they are going to definitely do that like in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was highly welcomed when it got introduced in Kata.
Oh yeah, like again,
transmog system and unlocking them and doing all that stuff. It was good.
yeah. Again, I know there's a lot of people that aren't a fan of transmog. I've seen it kind of be 50-50 in the Ashes community, whether people like it or don't like it. Of course, I come from World of Warcraft, so I don't mind it at all. Like, I don't think it's a big deal. I think people should look how they want to look. I think it's more frustrating whenever you have like you have a helm that looks one way and then you have shoulders that look a completely different way, and you just look like this complete clown character because nothing on your paper doll kind of looks like similar or to the same aesthetic as you would like. And I remember being like that in Burning Crusade. Like my hunter looked like a clown. Like, oh my
Absolutely.
God, it just looks so terrible. So I don't know, like for me, I loved when they added transmog because it just allowed me to play like and do the things that I want to do. And that I think is always good. Anytime you can give it into the player's hands, I think it's never a bad decision. So I'm
fine with it so long as you have to go earn it,
Oh yeah. No, 100%. I mean, so how do you feel? Like, have you seen any of the latest Ashes of Creation streams? Like this recent server meshing stream, the fighter stream, the Node War stream? Did you get a chance to look at any of that?
Yeah, I watched them with the Ethereum boys.
Oh, okay. So how did you feel about, let's start talking about the Node Wars one stuff first, because I mean you seem to be a huge into PvP. Like, how did that look in your eyes as an alpha stated game?
I mean, it looked fun. I think they need to calm the fuck down with the bow noises though. Listening to it was just
Yeah, I know. I feel like there's going to be a lot of stuff like VFX, sound design. There's still so much stuff to be tuned to see what feedback it is. But yeah, like for someone actually, like the two classes that I'm really wanting to main myself is either going to be the Ranger or the Fighter. And the VFX on the Fighter still need to be toned down just a tad on certain abilities. I feel like some of the light explosions are just too much. So that needs to be toned down. But overall, I think the PvP is actually in a pretty good position for, like, again, and I'm thinking an alpha game. Like, this is a game that's still being worked on, still being developed. It's not on the heels of being released in 6 months. Like, we're still many years away. And even being many years away, I look at this combat, I look at this presentation of the Node Wars, and I'm like, holy crap. this is freaking good.
It's come a long way from wands.
Oh, from Alpha 1 with everyone using the wand? Oh my god.
Play a cleric, equip a wand, 3-stack renew, you kill everybody.
Basically. I remember seeing that. Like, it was really funny to see, though, from an outsider's perspective. Because you see, choo, 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 just, like, getting flicked for, like, 16 damage, but you had, like, 23, like, balls are coming towards you. You would just get eviscerated. It was just nuts.
Got that forwarded real quick. Like, you need to nerf that shit.
Yeah, because then everyone was playing cleric, and then also everyone was just playing the wand. It was just so overpowered in Alpha 1.
You're a tank wand.
Basically. So I'm curious, like, what about is there anything regarding PvP that you're nervous about, or you feel like could end up being problematic, or do you have any like feedback in general when it comes to the PvP?
I would like it to be more emphasized on controlled numbers. I don't like the whole zerging shit.
Do you feel like, because again, I've actually talked to certain content creators about like, especially castle sieges. Like, I don't know about node wars per se. Like, it's hard to say if I want that to be instanced, but I know people want like a fair battle. But like, how would you, if you had to keep it fair, right, numerically, like how would you personally want to have to implement the system?
I think BDO did a good job before they changed their node wars.
Okay, how did BDO do it? I never played BDO, so I don't know.
They had it like within the node itself, and if you entered the node, then you just... If you were outside the node, you'd basically one gear score if you went outside. It was like controlled environment. So it worked like you had 50, they had 50. There was no like, we're going to bring 200 because we're shit, you know?
Got you. But do you feel like when it comes to the node war stuff, most of the stuff that I saw from like Arcage and Lineage 2, especially with the open world stuff, felt like it was very Zergy. Do you think...
Where's the fun in that?
Well, again, this is coming from someone who I did not play Arcage. I did not play Lineage 2. And I've always been curious as to how a Zerg could be either fixed or like not fixed, but like how can you stop people from Zerging? Like, I just don't think you can.
Well, let's say there's a node war between two nodes.
Right.
And then you can have a system in place where the defending node picks their 50 people and the attacking node picks their 50 people. And if you're not one of those 50, you're not allowed within the region.
But then do you feel like the war should, like, okay, so how long in your in BDO was that war? Was it like 40 minutes long? Was it an hour long? Like, how long did it take for you to get to a victor?
I mean, with Ethereum, we won like in 10 minutes all the time, but it got up to like 2 hours.
Okay. But do you feel like that is a war, like, per se? I mean, I feel like that's more of a battle. Like, 'cause I've always envisioned, like, when they say war, like, wars are like days long, potentially. Like, there's multiple objectives to go and do. And I feel like how you can basically, I wouldn't say stop Zergs, but how you can, I think, impact the whole Zerging thing is having more objectives on the map for you to be more strategic and break people off into.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that can work. The control environment would be more so like, let's say you got the main node, and then you've got like 6 or 7 small nodes connected to it. The 6 or 7 could be like controlled PvP, but the main node itself, like you're actually going to take their whole node, that can be something that's actually a war.
Right. And I feel like when it comes to like a node siege or even a castle siege, like especially when they reference like the 250 versus 250, me personally, I would want that to be instanced. Like, I don't want, I want it to be a fair fight in that regard. And I think the only way you can truly do that is to have it instanced and have it be like, you know, an epic like showdown battle. Like, that would take, you know, 2 hours.
Like a Helm's Deep, yeah.
Yeah, like just something like a lot of objectives. There's like, it's a blend of that PVX, right? There's PvE activities, there's PvP activities. They all kind of blend together at approach, and it's just like, it's all chaotic, but But again, if you have a strategy in place for your guild and what to do when it comes to the node type or when it comes to the castle type or whatever, that just puts you in a very big advantage. So I don't really see those particular systems being something that can just be open world, because then how, especially when you have something as big on the line of your castle being sieged or your node being sieged back to wilderness, and then you figured out, oh well, the reason why we lost is because they just brought an extra 100 people like out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that's just lame, right?
No, that's
point,
terrible.
It's not PvP at that point. It's just you brought 100 more people with the plastic sleeve on their keyboard, and they drawed and pressed 3 buttons. And they won.
Yep. And so like that's the one thing that I kind of see with that particular system, which of course we have not seen the siege system yet, but I really do hope Intrepid reconsiders. So whether you want to sign up on the docket, right? Like you're at a node and you're like, hey, our node has been declared to be sieged on. You sign up on the paper and it's like I don't know if you can do like a first come first serve basis, or maybe the mayor can allocate a certain guild to get first dibs on positions, or whatever the case is, right? So like I don't know how they could particularly do it. I think either way is going to create kind of drama, especially if there's only 250 slots that you can get into. So you have to, again, I think the mayor has to take into consideration of their guild, their own guild, but also the other guilds that have very good people in them. Because if your node is on the line and you just say, oh, we're just going to put all of our guild in that siege, well, if you lose, again, player reputation in Ashes is going to mean a hell of a lot. You're not going to be very well liked if you lose. You know what I mean? But if you can at least split it amongst like maybe the 5 most powerful guilds on that node, then you can at least share in the burden of loss. That, hey, there was no one particular that did anything wrong. It's just the other side just had a better plan of execution than we did. So I think that in itself can actually play very heavily into the player relations, and also to the player intrigue and just like the whole networking of servers of Ashes of Creation. So how do you feel about like the whole like diplomatic approach to MMOs? Because again, there just hasn't really been an MMO to really even do that.
Well, most of the MMOs we have nowadays, your reputation doesn't matter, right? Because you're just instanced in different servers and shit, so you can be an arsehole with no repercussions.
Yeah. I feel like now, I think that's also too the reason why they kind of push the single player agenda, is because it's just easier for developers to implement, solo gameplay than it is group gameplay. Because there's just, again, with all the instances and the sharding of servers to like, it segments the player bases so much that it pretty much feels like you're playing a single player game most of the time. Like you don't feel like you're really playing with other people.
Yeah, I mean, it is really important to make aspects of the game very rewarding if you have a certain amount of people to do it with.
Okay.
Like single player stuff's fine, but that shouldn't be like the best.
Right. And I think in a game like Ashes, I've always said I think solo players should be able to play like solo, but I think you would want to be in a group. I think there's many reasons to play.
There should be huge incentives to do so.
Yes, because there isn't an MMO that incentivizes group gameplay. Most of the time they discourage it. They discourage it by having
BDO.
Like they discourage it by like having your experience halved, if you invite someone else, or, or like when it comes to like quest items or quest things that you have to do, like, oh, well, you looted it, so I can't loot it. And so it's just, again, it's like mostly just poor design in general. So now, especially with the heels of this recent showcase with the server meshing, like the one other big issue that I always thought was going to be a thing was how are they going to be able to do these large battles with like, no lag, no rubber banding? Because again, you look at other MMOs and New World struggled sometimes to even have, what was it, like 100 players like on the map. You know what I mean? 50 players.
It was rough doing the open world PvP objectives, like handing the missions. You would actually just kill people through lag.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just, again, knowing this, and especially in World of Warcraft, like, dude, I do a 40 versus 40 battleground, and it's a shit show most of the time. Like, you don't you can't do much of anything, like especially when there's just a whole bunch of battles. Like you're literally trying to push your, your lightning bolt spell or whatever, and you see it going and then nothing happens, and then everything just kind of
Yeah.
happens all simultaneously, and you're just like, oh fuck, okay, well, whatever, I guess I just died 3 seconds ago, but my character's still alive and doesn't know it yet. So it's I was always worried at the fact that how can Ash's servers stand up when all of these other games can't do it? What are they going to do? And of course, with the server meshing technology that they unveiled, and also talking to other people, like I was talking to a buddy of mine in the Guild Suspect, and he very much knows like server like architecture and knows like how servers work and everything like that. And a lot of the times, like it's just most companies don't they don't they're like, we're not going to try to do anything new. Like we're just going to make, our servers, we're going to instance them to hell and back, and that's just what we're going to do. We're not going to invest in any kind of new technology or any new way to do our server infrastructure. We're just going to do it like everybody else. And I think for a lot of people, a lot of the other companies have just followed suit and chose to do that. But here you have Ashes of Creation, whether that you can say they're following Star Citizen or whatever, I personally don't care. The fact remains is that they're actually doing something different comparatively to all these other multi-billion-dollar companies. And if they actually pull it off and we get into the Alpha 2 and the dynamic gridding is in place, that's going to be a very exciting thing. Like, I don't know. How do you feel about the whole server meshing technology?
I mean, it's fantastic, right? But the thing they need to do is they need to limit who's actually within the space of the PvP. Because the last thing you need if you got 200 people versing each other is 100 fishers next door, just causing lag for no reason.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, basically trying to kill the server to basically make everyone either drop off or to lag out or to cause
Just
more
anything
issues.
to alleviate the servers, really. If you're not participating in this war, you shouldn't be here.
I'm really curious how the Guild Wars system is going to work. I mean, because if you think about it, if it's going to operate the same way as the Node Wars, it's going to be an open world thing. So if you and another guild are at war with each other, like how does that work realistically? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm thinking there could be like guild objectives that you do, right? There's certain things that you can do, like either PvE wise or PvP wise, but I kind of feel like the same, like what you just described could affect that system as well, as far as the Guild Wars system.
You just delegate groups, right? You have flex groups. You have these guys are going to do this objective. These guys are going to do that objective. You can still, all those systems can still work. You just don't have the 100 people that have nothing to do with the war, just causing lag for no reason. Then they can do whatever they're doing elsewhere.
Yeah. And usually with any of the PvP systems, like anything that is like an opt-in thing, whether it's like caravans, the node war, like all that stuff, like you're not going to gain corruption from any of that stuff. Like it's only like when the only time you'll ever gain corruption is when you're not in a particular event or in a certain system, like whether it's like the naval system or, whatever. There was just someone in chat that asked that. So I just wanted to clarify. So when it comes to the class design, like I'm curious, you played a shaman when it comes to WoW. Like what class so far have you seen in Ashes that's tickling your fancy? Has there been anything that's like been something that you're like, ooh, like I really want to play that or try that out? Or maybe not yet?
I want to play some kind of battle mage. I was thinking maybe rogue mage.
So you want
rogue yet, so
I know. It's gonna be really interesting to see what direction of rogue they go. I'm really curious. I mean, so far mage wise, I don't know if I particularly like the mage direction that they're choosing to go with as far as for Ashes goes. Again, I'm not a fan either of the World of Warcraft mage either. I think the WoW mage is severely boring. I think there's other classes that elemental shaman to me is more of a mage than the mages and WoW personally. Yeah. It's just I think it's a better fantasy in my opinion. But yeah, I think the class design when it comes to Bard is going to be really intriguing. Now, you playing a lot of older MMOs, like how important is support usually in those older MMOs?
Oh, some of them are borderline mandatory.
Right. I mean, a Lost Ark, I mean, it's pretty. You got a Bard in your
Paladin, super strong.
Yeah. It's ridiculous how strong. I mean, and again, I feel like, how would you want to balance that kind of a support in a game like Ashes? Like, do you feel like the Bard should actually be somewhat mandatory?
So long as it's handled within a ratio of people, it's fine. So like Lost Ark, one paladin's great if you're a 5-man, 4-man,
Right.
but having 2 would be pointless.
Right.
As
Because
long
it's
as they
just
stick to that kind of formula, it'll be fine.
right. So the fact of like having multiple, like if you think of it like in a raid setting, like do you think having in a group of 40 people, like how many bards do you think should be able to go to a 40-man raid? Only one? 4?
It should be like a fifth of the raid, and it'll be divided amongst the supports. So like
Gotcha.
2 bards, 3 clerics.
Right. And you're talking literally per 8-man group, right?
Yeah.
That makes up the 40. Got it. Okay. So like, is there anything from the Bard showcase that you're looking forward to, or you're just going to kind of look at it and be like, well, we'll see what they show off. But I mean, it looks like Ashes is going to do something hopefully pretty unique with the Bard.
It's going to be a hard thing to do properly, so I hope they do it properly.
Yeah. Well, I hope so too. I mean, again, it's one of those things that especially for me, that I've never really truly played a support class, because even when I played Lost Ark, I played the Shadow Hunter, which was kind of like a shadowy rogue, basically, which that class is so fun. But yeah, I don't know like in what direction they can potentially go with the Bard. And I know there's some people in the community that don't want them to be like buff bots, but I don't know in what other way a support can not be a buff bot in certain ways.
How can a bard not be a buff bot? I mean, what's he going to run up and smack it with an acoustic?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I just heard people say that. They're like, oh, I hope the Bard isn't just some buff bot. And I'm like, well, if it's not a buff bot, then it's not a support, right? I mean, because you have to be like throwing out like, radius, whether it's like buffs to like, melee, or whether they can be radius buffs to range, or, you're basically having to be very positional. Like there's certain like times where bards have to go into melee, they have to go back into range, or they have to go into support, or, there's like almost like stance dancing in a sense, right? To be able to do stuff.
They would have to heavily emphasize on how a bard utilizes weapons to make that really interesting. So for example, an archer, let's say they do a conal shot, and it buffs everyone on between them and the target they're hitting. Stuff like that.
Got you. Well, and especially with their weapon system, the fact that any class can use any weapon, if the Bard actually could use the weapon talent system in a very unique way comparatively to other classes, that could be actually really unique for that specific class.
Like a grey sword could be a war cry when you do the spin, for example.
Right. God, dude, you're making me think of augments now, and I don't know about you, dude, but I've been very open. I'm just so worried about the augment system, man, because I feel like it's going to be nothing but flavor, but I don't know. I hope not either. Like I really hope that they actually transform like abilities, but then I think about it realistically and I think, okay, 30 to 40 abilities per primary archetype, 8 classes across the board, 8 other times. That's like 8,000 spells potentially, and that's with the 4 schools. As it's just like, oh my god,
they have a lot of potential. I mean, let's take a mage with a spear. A normal spear throw attack would be like the fighter skill. If you're a fighter mage, then rather than throw the spear and pull them at you, throwing the spear would like teleport you next to them. But there's loads of cool things they could do with augments.
Dude, I hope you play Alpha 2, man, because I want you to leave all the feedback regarding the augment system if it turns out to be flavor. Because we need that, dude. We need these augments to truly feel like they're changing your class, right? Like if you decided to play a predator, or if you decided to play a paladin, or if you decided to play, a high sword, like you need to feel like that decision mattered, and it wasn't just, oh, I chose to play a high sword because I got purple spells instead of blue, or what I mean, like, or I chose to do this because it just, like that's kind of underwhelming, right? Like you need to add like the true shift in this ability change from one thing to another, right? And so I made an example of like the charge ability from the fighter, right? And so I know there's people that want like fighter to become like the juggernaut or something like that, right? or the tank to be the Juggernaut. And so if you have like a charge ability, well, instead of it, when you pick the Juggernaut class, it's no longer a charge, it's like a stampede. And when you hit stampede, you basically run faster, and if anybody is in your way, they get knocked back and dazed. You know,
they could do one step further. They could do that, and then you could be it could be a leap and knocks everyone back at the end of the charge.
That's also cool too. Like I said, it's like it's kind of endless, like what you can potentially do with the design of augments. It's just I feel like sometimes the reality ends up being disappointing compared to what people think up in our heads, right? And so like I guess I try not to think about it too much because I just want to see what they have first. But because we literally have not seen anything, like literally anything when it comes to augments. Like first of all, Alpha 2 is going to be probably approaching in September. Do you think the augment system is even going to be at the launch of Alpha 2?
I think it's going to be very bare bones. So it'd be like if you augment this to say an arcing thrust of a sword, it would add lightning damage to it, something basic.
I just don't think that's enough. Like
it's not, but it's going to be very bare bones.
Yeah. And again, I feel like in a starting point, right? Like a foundational level, I guess that could be fine because then we can just fine tune, or we can just leave feedback as to like this particular augment you did A, but what if you did B instead? Like B would actually fit the class fantasy even better. And because I feel like they don't, like in their own internal like, you know, team, right? Coming up with like 8,000 different variants between just like what, maybe 100 people. Like, not saying it's impossible to do, but now you open it up to having hundreds of thousands of people potentially creating augments for you, or like, you know, thinking of abilities that you would have never thought about. And I think that is hopefully maybe what they're waiting for, is to just see like what the community would potentially want for this particular augment, you know, and then they could just be like, yeah, let's do that. You know what I mean? That sounds cool.
That's the benefit of an open development, right? We give them the ideas and they can just go, glad I thought of it.
Oh my God. I really hope you're right on that one. I really, really, really do. Well, is there anything else that you want to chat about before we end the episode?
I'm hoping it comes out this year and doesn't get delayed again.
Do you really think?
Hands-on.
You think it'll get delayed?
I mean, anything's possible, dude.
Well, I've been saying that too. I feel like they won't delay it. I hope they don't delay it. If they do delay, it's because of something very critical that went wrong. But I don't think that would be the case. I feel like September will be a good month. It's probably going to be the month. I don't think August is on the cards personally. I think September's always been what it is. So, yeah. September Alpha 2, September 30th probably will be the day. The last possible day of the month. We shall see. Grim, dude.
For the TNL, but you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what would you rather play? Would you rather play TNL or would you rather play Ashes?
I'm playing both.
A true MMO gamer at heart, dude. Grim, dude, thank you so much for coming on and chatting and doing all the stuffs. Guys, we're going to be continuing this conversation a little bit, you know, in our little post show for a little bit. I don't want to take too much of Grim's time because I know he's like 7 hours into the future and stuff, but we'll talk for, you know, a little bit. Guys, if you like this episode and you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button. If you're watching on Twitch, of course, always hit that heart. That'll keep you followed and up to date with any time I go live here on Twitch. And that is your boy Grimmkill. I am your boy Vlhadus, and we will see you guys on the next one. Later, guys. All right. Well, damn, that was really good.
Yeah.
Dude, Grim, I really appreciate, because dude, chat, this literally happened 30 minutes before. It was like 1:30 my time, and me and Grim were talking, and I said we were trying to come out with the time frame of like when he could come on, and I just asked him, I was like, well, dude, you have time now? We can just do it now. And he's like, yeah, sure. He's like, come on. So I really appreciate your flexibility, man, and just being able to come on and do this. It's really fun. Thank you, dude.
Yeah, no problem. Just join the forum.
Just join.
Perfect.
You know, little shout out to Alec and his boys over there at Ethereum. I mean, gee, y'all's guild is huge, man. Do y'all still need people? Like, what are y'all? Y'all's
Yeah.
guild? Y'all have like a lot of people. I know, like
a lot of crafters and gatherers, you know.
oh, that's true. You could never have too many of those, and especially like again with how heavy the profession system is going to be in Ashes. Like that's one thing I want to test so badly in MMOs. And again, like this, I didn't really get to ask you this regarding professions, but like with you being like you know, playing MMOs, you know, for as long as you did. Do you feel like professions just kind of fell off like in recent MMOs? Because I feel like professions from back from like 2000 to like 2008, like the games that professions came from then were just so much better.
Oh, they hard fell off.
Like what the hell happened?
The I don't know, developers are afraid of people doing professions and getting relevant gear that way instead of going through their hoops.
How do you spell Ethereum? I always misspell it. Is it EPHERUM?
Isn't either. R-U-M.
Got it.
Ethereum.
There you go. Our boy Grimmkill is in Ethereum.
There we go.
Yeah. And not to be confused with the cryptocurrency.
Yeah, they get that a lot.
But yeah, I feel like the profession system has been a system that just hard fell off. I really would like that system to come back to like some kind of tour de form. And Corey, Cortarian Slurp, he's one of the devs that usually comes into my chat. He's actually working on the professions team, and he's huge. He was a huge Star Wars Galaxies player. And so did you play Star Wars Galaxies like from back in the day?
I did not, unfortunately.
Dude, so I started playing
had.
There's a restoration server for Star Wars Galaxies, and I still gotta, it's like I don't know whether if I should keep trying to play it on there or if I should just wait for Ashes, because I feel like I should probably just wait for Ashes, because it's like, you know, usually sandbox games are super grindy, and with Star Wars Galaxies, looking at their professions, I'm in for a long road with those professions. So I watched a video, and again, it's so elaborate. How
isn't that exciting?
Every single craft is specific. Like, you know, when you ever create potions and you create like a stack of 20, well, in most other games, like it's just the same potion just 20 times over. But in Star Wars Galaxies, each potion has a potency. Like, it's wild. Like how in-depth the crafting system is in that game. And that's the kind of system I'm sure Corey is wanting to do in Ashes. Like they want to do a very curated, specifically tailor-made kind of style for your crafts.
I mean, if you add layers to something like that, it becomes more of like a player-driven system, right? Because if you have like somebody who's proficient into like being a master alchemist versus someone who's an apprentice, the master's going to make the really potent stuff.
Right. And that also
feeds into having a big guild and stuff.
Well, true. But that also adds into the being known on the server. That again, I remember back in the day in 2006 when I was playing WoW, playing a hunter, I had to get to know all my engineers on the server. Like who can make my bows or my, not my bows, but like my bullets or my arrows and stuff like that. And so anytime I saw someone that had a certain like rare recipe, I'm like, oh crap, like I can rely on him now for arrows, or like, oh, there's this other thing, you know? So I miss that. There's everybody now, the professions are so cookie cutter. There's no real reason to look for anyone specific. It's just like every blacksmith is the same blacksmith. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it just,
they got rid of like weaponsmith and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, like all of the stuff that made the blacksmithing profession unique and identifiable to you as the person just made it generic and, you know, like one for all kind of thing. It's just, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand why they decided to do something like that. It baffles me. Like, again, most of the time I feel like the AAA studios nowadays don't have any idea of what players even want at this point. I just think they're doing what's comfortable for them as developers.
Okay, just streamline systems so they don't have to put as much work in.
Yeah.
Make them simple, easy to work on. Whereas if you have all these different like types of professions and stuff and like elaborate layers, that's a lot more development time they don't want to do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think overall we're just gonna have to wait to see what Ashes does. I'm really curious too, like in your opinion, like how long do you think Alpha 2 will last? There's been people like I've been very vocal to say 2 to 3 years, but
Yeah, that's about right.
do you think? I feel like it's about right too. I mean, it could potentially take longer, but I think if we can get that really good back and forth feedback, and especially for how quick the feedback was given in Alpha 1, again, I've always said this. I was super astounded as a WoW player of how fast Intrepid worked on feedback from you guys. Like,
Yeah,
insane.
you're actually on point. I mean, we knew about the UE5 announcement before anyone else.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Steven's a naughty boy.
He is. He's always so excited about the future because he's, and again, this is why like I think many people like love Steven is because it's hard to fake passion. Like when you're truly passionate about something, you get excited about it. You want you it's like your baby. Like if I spent 40 million of my own dollars, hell, I would be freaking ecstatic too. You know what I mean? I want my project to be the best it possibly can be. And the only way you can do that is with good people that you surround yourself with, but also a community that you can interact with. And I feel like a lot of developers and a lot of the companies are just so afraid to interact with their own communities is because they know they have a bad reputation within their own community. It's freaking wild. And here Ashes is like literally from the beginning cultivating this community and fostering, I think, you know, not saying they've done everything perfect. There's been some stuff that Ashes has done that's been like, oh, come on, dude, what the heck were you thinking? But for the most part, I think comparatively to other AAA studios, Ashes has way more hits than they do misses. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's the main reason why it's like the game for Ethereum.
Right. And it's the main game for a lot of major guilds right now. I mean, it's crazy. Like Legacy, I mean, there's Axiom, there's Ethereum, there's a lot of other really big guilds that are just very interested in Ashes of Creation. And yeah, they're going to go in and play like, you know, Throne of Liberty or, you know, PAX Day or whatever. But I think the serious gameplay intent is on Ashes of Creation.
Yeah, I mean, we're just burning time at this point, right?
Yeah, basically. That's what I'm doing. I know that's what a lot of other people are doing.
Yeah.
I'm just playing Last Epoch right now because the new patch just came out, so I've been just kind of wasting my time with that until Alpha 2. So
we'll play TL, we'll farm some other guilds, and then wait for Ashes. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, dude, Grim, dude, thank you so much, dude, for coming on and just chatting and stuff like that, dude. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your flexibility and coming on. Is there anything you want to say before we dip out or end stream?
There's a lot I want to say, but a lot I don't think I should say.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know, again, you know, going back to the whole, you know, thing of what we're talking about in our pre-show, it's, you know, it sucks, dude. I can only imagine the stuff that happened, you know, behind closed doors, and the fact that you didn't make it a big deal says more about you and your character than it does about Narcs. So I think it takes a bigger man to literally walk away and to not, you know, be that person that's like wanting to cause like drama and stuff like that. And it's just, you know, the fact that you're able to step away and just, you know, not saying you shrugged it off, right? Because again, you know, not saying it didn't hurt, but still, like, I think that just speaks more to your character.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Yep. As men say, it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, chat. Well, this was a very special impromptu. I'm going to be streaming later on today at 7 p.m. Central. So if you want to come in and see me finish that Narc interview, we're going to watch, I believe Royer came out with his Bard video. So we're going to definitely see that at 7. So come back to stream later on today and we can hang out some more. It was good to see you, chat. We'll see you later on tonight. Later.
Later.